What's up guys, I'm Random Frank P. Today we're going to be comparing two laptops head to head, and that's going to be the Razer Blade Pro and the Razer Blade. Got my hands on both of these, so the point of this video is pretty much to put them head to head and tell you guys the main differences between the two in case you're interested in picking one of the two up. Hopefully this video helps you out in deciding what your new laptop's gonna be. So about a month ago, I did a review on the Razer Blade, and in the comment section, I got a lot of people asking what the differences were between that version and the newer Razer Blade Pro model. So to help you guys out, I got one in-house, picked it up, and once I unboxed it and started messing around with it, I found these are very, very different. We're gonna go over a lot of things here, so sit tight. First off is the size, and the Razer Blade Pro, I would say is probably around 25% bigger than the Blade, but that's because of course it's the Pro version, it's packing more of a punch. The Blade Pro comes in at 7.69 pounds, while the Blade comes in at 4.1 pounds, but they're both pretty portable, but in terms of just ease of carrying around and transporting, I'd say the Blade has the advantage there since it is so light. But in terms of thickness, they are both under an inch, with the Blade coming in at 0.7 inches and the Blade Pro coming in at 0.88 inches. These are both insanely thin for what they're capable of. Now in terms of powering both these laptops, the Razer Blade has a 165 watt power adapter, which is very tiny, it's like smaller than most smartphones, and the Razer Blade Pro has a 250 watt power brick here, but I mean comparatively speaking, these are both smaller than a lot of gaming laptops out there. Now we're going to talk about the screen. The Razer Blade Pro, since it is bigger, has a 17.3 inch display coming in at 3840 by 2160p. It has great color representation here. It's 100% Adobe RGB color space, so colors just pop, everything looks really, really nice. And the Razer Blade is a 14 inch display, so about 3 inches smaller. The model I have here is 1080p, but you can choose to upgrade if you want to that Ultra HD resolution. However, one of the big differences here is the Razer Blade Pro comes with this multi-capacitive touchscreen, and it is awesome. It's pretty much a massive tablet for a screen. There's just something really cool about having a touchscreen on your laptop. I didn't even really notice it or start to use it until like my second hour of testing because I forgot about it. Of course, if you're using an external mouse or the trackpad and stuff on here, you're not going to be using the touchscreen probably for all your points and clicks and stuff, but it's cool just to, jot down quick notes, just touching quick links, stuff like that. It's an overall really cool overall experience. Then the last point on the display here, on the Razer Blade, we have a matte finish on the screen to cut down on reflections. We do not have that on the Razer Blade Pro. It is a glossy finish there, so you're gonna have to keep that in mind. And both the hinges on these laptops are very, very smooth. It adds zero flex to the display overall, opens and closes very nicely. I said it in my Blade review, but it is buttery smooth. Then before we move on to the fun and interesting stuff, we'll talk about connections. On the left side of the Razer Blade, you have your power adapter, two USB 3.0s, and a 3.5mm headphone jack, and on the right side you have an HDMI out, another USB 3.0, and a Thunderbolt 3.0. Switching over to the Razer Blade, on the left side you have your power adapter, an Ethernet port, two USB 3.0s again, and that 3.5mm headphone jack, and on the right side, your HDMI out, USB 3.0, that Thunderbolt 3, and a memory card slot. And you might have noticed on both the sides there's a little speaker as well. That side speaker is exclusive to just the Razer Blade Pro, and it really helps give you a better overall sound space here because you have the front-facing speakers by your laptop and those two on the side, kind of add some extra, like I said, spatial awareness and clarity to your music or gaming. And like I said, both these laptops have those front-facing speakers on each side of the keyboard. So with both side by side, you can start to see now where these start to differ. They both have absolutely amazing keyboards. I'll talk more about that in a second with their lighting. But you can see on the Razer Blade Pro, your touchpad is off to the right side. Additionally, on top, not only do you have multimedia controls, but you have a volume rocker, and that is seriously cool. I'm a big fan of this touchpad here. My finger glides along it very nicely, and it is tactile, so you can push it in to click on things or even right click on it. And that's very different from the Razer Blade, which has a touchpad that does not click in, but it has two buttons below it. Those are your left and right click, and like I said in my review, it was kind of hard to adjust to that overall, so I'm more of a fan of the touchpad on the Razer Blade Pro. And now to one of my favorite areas areas of these laptops is the keyboard. Like I said, both are absolutely awesome, but they're also kind of different here. On the original Razer Blade, you have these chiclet style keys, very thin and a low profile overall, extremely similar to what's on the MacBook Pro for comparison. And I found that typing on this was just extremely easy to get used to, and I had no problems. But what's really interesting is on the Razer Blade Pro, they've adapted these chiclet style keys to be somewhat mechanical in a way. It is one of the most unique laptop typing experiences I've ever had, and I absolutely love it. When you pop off one of the keys, you're going to see it's like that butterfly mechanism on the inside, but in the middle is this little stem, and that's essentially what is going to be replicating that mechanical feel. So I'm sure you're used to Razer mechanical keyboards with those very clicky green switches. It does a great job of being similar to that very tactile feel when you're typing. I know it sounds bizarre, but we're gonna do it anyway. I'm gonna do a sound test so you can hear the difference in the keyboards with the Razer Blade Pro first and the Razer Blade second. So definitely my favorite typing experience on a laptop by far. I love what they did with the adaptation here of these key switches inside the Razer Blade Pro. And now for the RGB lights, and like I said, with the regular Razer mechanical keyboards, you still have that same functionality in the Razer Synapse software. Inside, you can go in and mess around with a ton of different lighting effects. You're probably used to most of them by now. And in terms of the RGB lights, you still have that 16.8 million RGB color effect here. In the daylight, they're not overly blinding or distracting or anything. Obviously, they're gonna shine brighter and more saturated at nighttime with the lights dimmed, but either way, the lighting effects are great. And since on the Razer Blade Pro, we have the touchpad here and the volume control, what's pretty cool is the lighting effects also transfer over to those areas. I figured for the touchpad, it would just be, one solid color. But when it's the rainbow wave, you can actually see different colors in the touchpad. When you're doing like the pulse effect, the colors will pulse in a certain direction on the touchpad itself. Looks really cool overall. Then lastly, before we wrap it up, we're gonna talk about the specs here between both models. You can go onto the Razer website and kind of configure them to fit your needs and what you want. But for the Razer Blade, inside is an i7 7700 HQ CPU with 16 gigs of RAM and a GTX 1060 graphics card. But for the 2017 Razer Blade Pro, we have an i7 7820 HK CPU with 32 gigs of RAM and a GTX 1080. Not gonna go over benchmarks for each individual title and stuff, you can find those online, but to give you an idea of how those relate, you can check out their Firestrike, their CloudGate, and their Cinebench benchmarks here for you guys to give you an idea of how those specs are gonna perform and what you can expect out of your laptop. And the last point here before we wrap everything up, we're talking about battery life. And when not plugged into the wall from 100% to dead, on the Razer Blade I got around 6 hours of battery, and on the Razer Blade Pro I found around 5 hours was average. Again, it is bigger and stuff like that, so you would expect less battery, but you can do things, like lower the brightness of your screen or lessen the RGB lighting effects, so that overall eats your battery, or just turn the lighting effects down on your keyboard, and that'll all give you, extended battery life. You'll be probably finding around 2 to 3 hours longer if you don't have everything at 100%. So in the end, you're gonna be spending a little bit under $2,000 for the base model on the Razer Blade, and the Razer Blade Pro comes in at double that, but again, it has more functionality overall with the touchscreen, the 4K display, lots more stuff here that's gonna justify the price point. And I think if I could kind of, give my overall takeaway from this, the Razer Blade Pro is gonna be for somebody who is doing, 3D rendering, tons of gaming, photo editing, video editing, all that good stuff. This is more of like a workstation laptop that's going to nail whatever you're working on. I think the Razer Blade, the original, is gonna be best for gaming on the go, bringing it back and forth to class, light photo and video editing, stuff like that. But either way, if this video helped you out deciding which one's gonna be best for you, I hope it did. Drop a thumbs up down below. Let me know which one you like better. And again, I think I kind of gave you a good synopsis on each one so you can find out which one is gonna be best for you and your needs. So guys, It's gonna wrap it up. I hope you liked the video. If you have any questions, you can comment down below as well, or hit me up and follow me on Twitter at @randomfrankp. Well, thanks guys for checking it out. I'll see you next time.